Good morning. I am Stephen C., and you are at Steve C's. It is 11 a.m. Central Time, and this is the Course in Miracles study and review for today, Tuesday, April 15th. Oh, tax day, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. And we come on here every day at 11 a.m. Central Time to review the lesson for the day from the Course in Miracles. So if you are a student of the Course in Miracles or you enjoy spiritual discussion, looks like Mary's here right away. Is that Mary? Hi, Mary. Yay, Mary. Found it. Hi. So every morning at this time, we go for about 60 minutes or a little bit more and review the Course in Miracles. If you missed the live, you can go to my YouTube channel, also at Steve C's on YouTube, or you can search Stephen C. The link is in my account bio. And I like to begin by reading the introduction to the Course in Miracles as a sort of centering exercise to focus us on what we are engaged in here every day as a sort of centering prayer, if you will. So the introduction says this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And so that opening introduction, the first few sentences, the opening paragraph of that introduction tells us that the Course in Miracles is a required course for some reason, which the Course explains, and which the Course says you will be able to understand if you do the spiritual work, if you work with the workbook. Ignotia, welcome. Billy Walker, welcome. Christopher Stowe, welcome. Morning, everybody. Thanks for stopping by and thanks for hanging out. So the introduction to the course says this is a required course. So we, as you get into the course and you start to understand what it's saying, as you get a little more involved, the course says, you have created a prison with your own thinking, a prison of consciousness with your own mind, which gets outpictured as a world, because this is the creative act. The creative act goes from thought through being into matter, or from being, from spirit, through thought into matter. And so the matter that we see, the world that we see, according to the Course in Miracles, is an outpicturing of our thoughts and our thought system. And it says, based on what you see and based on your experience, what do you think? It asks the question, what do you think? It provides the answer, but it also asks the question. It says, what do you think about what you see? What do you think about what you're experiencing? So it says it's a required course to learn what a miracle is. And it also points out in the preface that there are many different forms of the curriculum. There are many different ways of communicating the ideas that are being expressed in the course. This particular framework is a Christian framework, so it also has supplementary material. Thanks for the likes. Please like. Yes, please like this live. You can also share this live. When you hit the like button, you can also continue to hit the screen and send several likes. Of course, the likes, the shares, and I think most importantly, the comments help with the algorithm and help to distribute the live. So, hello. Need to go back and change the past. Well, guess what? That's exactly what the course in miracles is about. Changing the past, and the way the course approaches that says in miracles is about changing the past, and the way the course approaches that says the past, the lesson, and also a portion of the text, which we do every day. And very specifically, the text yesterday talked about the past and the focus of our mind on the past. And so, very quickly and succinctly, the idea that was communicated there was all creative power and all miracles reside in the moment of now, which is the closest approach to eternity that you can have in time and space. So again, the curriculum of Course in Miracles, which uses Christian terminology, and what I was saying was there is supplemental material after the course called A Manual for Teachers, which helps to redefine, reinterpret, and reperceive the Christian terms. Because of course, a lot of people get turned off by those terms, even though you are part of a system and a country and a Western worldview, a Western civilization and worldview that you are immersed in that Christian viewpoint. So it might behoove us, the course says, and the reason it's presented from that Christian viewpoint and with that Christian framework is because basically that is where we find ourselves embedded in that thought system. And the curriculum, even though it uses Christian terminology, seeks to redefine it. So double trouble there. First, from people who perceive Christianity as evil or negatively, and then from within Christianity, the course seeks to and teaches a new perception, which I call esoteric Christianity. So, and in a new thought about Christianity, which actually is an ancient thought about Christianity, which I like to say is the inner teachings of the Christ, the inner teachings that Jesus was dispensing, if you will, sharing with his disciples. So to relieve ourselves of the past is the very focus of Course in Miracles. And since it is esoteric Christianity, it uses Hermetic principles, which those principles are from Egypt. Hermes is from Egypt. Hermes is the Greek name for taught or taught or thoth, people say, toth, T-O-T-H, T-H-O-T-H, T-H-O-T-H, taught or thoth, or tote, some people say, was an Egyptian Hermes. And Hermes, of course, is the Greek. So, again, this riles up the conservative Christians, the traditional Christians. It would rile up my mother. I was raised in the Catholic Church. My mother would tell me to talk about something else. So that's how that goes. But it is all one container of thought. It is all one thought system. And it is a thought system of freedom and liberation. It is a thought system of a unity consciousness. It is the explanation of the unity consciousness with the mind of God, which Course in Miracles says we no longer possess. Okay, we've split our mind, and a portion of our mind believes that we are separate from God. You go, but Steve, I don't think I'm separate from God. I'm very spiritual. I'm very I go to church. I'm holy. I study the Bible. I know the Bible. And the Course in Miracles says yes, 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 but that may be true. But when you look to the world and when you hear other aspects of yourself, you have to understand that what we see in the world is a projection of what is from within us, projected outward or extended. And so through the action of the mind, again, which is creation, so that if I see or hear people who would dispute our oneness with God, people who would even argue about what it means or how it, that is a reflection, that conflict, that opposition, okay, that differing viewpoint and point of view is a reflection of the split mind that we all possess, that the Course in Miracles is talking about. So it's not just ourselves. In fact, to only think of ourself selfishly, self-centered, right? To think only of the little self is to be embedded in, to be enmeshed in, and to be thinking from that separated self. And that separated self is very good at disguising that fact. Course in Miracles calls those defenses. So there are defensive thoughts in our mind that defend the truth from dawning on our consciousness. So it's very deep, deep, deep. It's quite involved and takes a bit of study to begin to understand it. And here we study the text, the workbook, and then apply the workbook. And it is the application of the workbook that helps to undo the old thought system and which allows the natural thought system, the thought system we were created with, the image and likeness of God, to emerge or radiate into our consciousness, because it is composed of light, light, which is intelligence, light, which is love. It allows it to emerge. And so you get the symbology in the Bible of darkness and light, love, light, peace, joy, happiness, fulfillment, etc., on and on. So that, as the opening salvo there today, never know what's going to happen. I never know what's going to happen, but just going with the flow there, Mary says, but you said that the psychology women created this from God's word. Helen Schuckman was the author of this. I would suggest, as I've said before, go to ACIM.org and read it for yourself. Read the preface to the Course in Miracles. Then after you've read it, meditate, think about it. Then tomorrow go back and read it again, or next week go back and read it again. Read the story, find out how the book was written, and that hopefully will answer your question, answer the questions. So today we're going to review lesson 105. It is the 105th day of the year, so April 15th is the 105th day of the year. Everybody knows the rules. One lesson per day. No more than one lesson per day is suggested, is the guidance. So, lesson 105 today says, God's peace and joy are mine. Then it says, God's peace and joy are yours. God's peace and joy are mine, and God's peace and joy are yours. Because, why? Because I am in you, you are in me, we are in the Father. It's all one thing. It's all one consciousness. Here he says, why can't I be connected with God also? You are connected with God. Of course. As I just said, I am in you, you are in me, we are all in God. I'm connected to God, you are connected to God, and you are more than connected to God. You are God in the microcosm. This is a holographic universe. As within, so without, as above, so below. On earth, as in heaven. But reinterpreted, re-perceived. So we have to, the exercises of the workbook are to help us sort of release the grip that our thought system has in our mind, in our consciousness. Sort of relax and let go. That is an effect of meditation. So if I sit down and meditate, which I do every day, often, just watch my thoughts. There's something within us called the witness that can just watch, that can just listen, that can just see without a judgment, without a counter thought, without a counter argument. It just witnesses. So it's called witness consciousness. That witness consciousness allows us to see that we are not our thoughts. Also allows us to see that some thoughts we have a real grip on, and they seem more persistent than others. Those thoughts defend themselves. That's what the Course in Miracles says. And the king of that kingdom of defense and defensiveness is the ego mind. So God's peace and joy are mine. God's peace and joy are yours. Today, we will accept them, knowing they belong to us. And we will try to understand these gifts increase as we receive them. Course in Miracles says giving and receiving are one. There's no difference between giving and receiving. We will try to understand these gifts increase as we receive them. They are not like to the gifts the world can give. They are not like the gifts of the world, in which the giver loses as he gives the gift. The taker is richer by the giver's loss. This is why it must be understood and why it's pointed out in the Course and why we talk about the 7 Hermetic principles is that the universe is thought. The universe is mind. Mind created the universe. I am. Created the universe. I am that I am. As Moses was told, I am. What should I call you, Moses said. I am that I am. Please remember the best way to begin to approach this material is to realize that a burning bush, a voice from a burning bush, I am that I am, all of those are symbols. Those are symbols of inner states of consciousness, states of being, thought systems, ways of thinking. Those are symbols. It may have actually happened. We don't need to argue about that or dwell on that. The way to approach the material we're talking about here and the way I'm talking about it is to think of it as a symbol, to think of it symbolically, to think of it as a metaphor, to think of yourself as Moses and also as the voice that answers Moses. That conversation is happening within us and not with, this body, within the consciousness, but we kind of go like this. That's sort of the subconscious. The body and the subconscious can be related. They are not like the gifts the world can give, in which the giver loses as he gives the gift. The taker is richer by his loss. Such are not gifts, but bargains made with guilt. Truly given gift entails no loss. It is impossible that one can gain because another loses. This implies a limit and an insufficiency. So, right, that's called a lack consciousness. Consciousness of lack and limitation says, as I give, I lose. So I'm going to restrict my giving so I don't lose too much, so that I don't end up at zero. But that is a poverty consciousness. And the truth of the matter is, consciousness is where the treasures are. Consciousness is where the treasure is. So if you can imagine a treasure, and if you can understand you are the treasure, and if you can embody that, plant that thought into the subconscious mind, it will manifest. It may manifest as a job. It may manifest as a lottery ticket. It may manifest as a gift. It may manifest as an opportunity. But the treasure, I am the treasure. Plant that seed into the subconscious mind. Water it. Make sure it gets sunlight, and it will sprout, it will grow, it will produce fruit, and you will know them by their fruits. You will know me by my fruits. From the inside out, from the subconscious, superconscious, conscious, subconscious, reflected in the world, produced in the world, Mother Earth, matter. No such gift is given. No gift is given thus. Okay? A true gift entails no loss. It is impossible that one can gain because another loses. So either we both lose or we both gain. in a unified consciousness. If there's any sense of loss, if there's any sense of sacrifice, the Course says, then we're thinking incorrectly and we're working on changing our perception. No gift is given thus. Such gifts are but a bid for a more valuable return, right? For a profit. I'll give this to you for a profit. I'll give you my time for a paycheck. And so I profit from my labor, is what we've been told. And then the Bible says, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world, if he piles up a big stack of riches, but loses his soul? So again, that thought reversal. Jesus also says, when you gain your soul, when you purchase pearl of great price, when you purchase the field that has a treasure hidden in it, you'll sell everything you have. Okay, that's misinterpreted. That's misperceived. That doesn't mean I have to be poor materially. That doesn't mean, right, I shouldn't have anything. We need things to live in the world, and so let's see how the mind has been conditioned by the world. The mind has been conditioned by the churches, by the state, by the government, by our teachers. Okay, and so again, we're embedded, we're conditioned by this thought system. And the Course in Miracles is one method, one way of extracting ourselves from it so that we can begin to see more clearly with vision, the Course calls it. So such gifts, given and expecting something in return, are but bid for a more valuable return, alone with interest to be paid in full, a temporary lending, meant to be a pledge of debt to be repaid with more than was repaid with more than was received by him who took the gift. Sure, I'll give it to you, but you better give me more back. So that thinking has to be changed. I mean, just look around. Is it working? Does it work? Doesn't really work. And in fact, if you look historically, I started reading about the Greeks, again, the ancient Greeks. It's all about war. Okay. It's all, and every empire since then, and there was a Greek empire, there was a Persian empire, then there was the Roman Empire. At one point, the Greeks were invaded by the Bulgars, by the Europeans, by the Slavs of the time. Greece was overrun by the Slavic people to the north of them. So if you study history, you'll find that every civilization, every empire rises and then falls. So what do you think's happening right now on the news, on the television? We're right in the middle. I mean, got to be careful. Sort of, are we going to keep going up? Are we going to expand? Is the vibration of the world? Now, I happen to believe myself personally that the vibration of the world is rising, that the darkness we're seeing is part of the process. And so my belief is, yes, the world can be saved, but in what form? It'll probably appear in a new form. And so the old form is going to have to pass away. So kind of seeing the old form pass away. Say goodbye. Okay, so we're talking about in this workbook lesson, which says God's peace and joy are mine, gifts, gift giving, giving and receiving. God's peace and joy are mine. And what we have heard so far is that I have to be able to receive. I have to be open to receive. And then we've also said it's about receiving thoughts, about receiving vibrations, about receiving a feeling, being taught from within. Thoth, Hermes, right? Hermetic principles. So, major learning goal this course is set is to reverse your view of giving so you can receive. A major learning goal of this course, of the Course in Miracles, is to reverse your view of giving so you can receive. To reverse the view of giving, trust me, does not happen on a Tuesday morning. Got it. Perfect. Now I understand. Okay. Because the thought system, the mind is so conditioned, and we don't even realize we've been conditioned. So part of the exercise here and continuing the exercises throughout the whole year, throughout the whole day, for years, continue the exercise for years, and more light begins to come into the consciousness. And my perception changes. Your perception will change to whatever degree you apply yourself. To whatever degree we seek to know ourselves, know thyself, a Greek term, by the way, as far as Western civilization is concerned, a Greek term. It goes far beyond the Greeks, of course. Know thyself, right? What's the oldest civilization we ever really talk about? It's Egypt, the Egyptians. So it comes from the Egyptians. And of course, there's also the Sumerians and the Babylonians and blah, 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 blah. So all of that and beyond, know thyself. This is the quest. This is the curriculum. This is the course. This is the teaching. Know thyself. Self-inquiry. Impartial self-observation. Okay. Major learning goal of this course, the course has set, is to reverse your view of giving so you can receive. And I want to receive the gifts of God, joy and peace. Absolute peace, peace that cannot be disturbed no matter what happens, and happiness that cannot be disturbed no matter what happens. No matter what I see, no matter what I hear, no matter what I think I know, forgiving has become a source of fear. And so you would avoid the only means by which you can receive. In order to receive, I must give. So the law of giving and receiving, the law of circulation, what goes around comes around. As you sow, so shall you reap. This is a law of consciousness. But giving has become a source of fear, right? I think if I give something away, then I won't have it. And now I don't want to do that. I'm afraid of that, right? That's what the course is saying. So there's a few steps there. Thank you for the likes. Thank you. Let's see who's here. Ukena. Thank you. Thank you for the likes. So there's several steps there. You have to keep going over them, going over them. I use the analogy of a handyman sometimes. A handyman got to know how to paint, got to know how to do a little plumbing, little electrical, little patching, got a little this, little that. Okay, a carpenter, right? Jesus, a carpenter. Got to know how to fix things. But always there's several steps. There's many. If you open up a wall, there's all kinds of stuff going on behind the wall that's hidden. And so we can apply that to our consciousness. As we begin to examine our own consciousness, we find all this stuff that's been hidden, which is why, again, why meditation is important. Just to watch and see what thoughts arise and what feelings are connected with those thoughts. Sit still. A lot of people find it difficult to meditate. A lot of people don't have a meditation practice, and of course, I'm talking about one form of it, sitting, but it's a state of mind that allows us to see our own mind. Know thyself. So, am I self-perceptive? Giving has become a source of fear, so you would avoid the only means by which you can receive. Accept God's peace and joy, and you will learn a different way of looking at a gift. God's gifts will never lessen when they are given away. God's gifts will never become less as they're given away. If I give away joy, joy is increased because now I have it and you have it. If I give away love, love is increased because now I have it and you have it. Hi, you cannot. Thanks for the likes. That's the conclusion I'm drawing towards. Meditation is something new to me, but it's getting there. That's good. That's good. Yep. Good for you. Well, stick around, hang out. I'm here every day I start at 11 a.m. Central Time. I do a live. Then I put it over on YouTube, so you can find me on YouTube also. There's a link in the bio. But meditation is certainly an idea or a practice I talk about here. So hang out, check it out, ask questions. You can also DM me if you want. There's plenty of people out there teaching meditation, and really fundamentally, it's an exercise to begin to watch our thoughts and watch our thinking. And one of the fundamental ideas that's one of the symbols that's used consistently is your consciousness is the sky and your thoughts are the clouds drifting across the sky. You're the sky. Your consciousness is the sky. And the thoughts drift through. So I was talking earlier about attaching ourselves to our thoughts, right? We are not our thoughts. So meditation helps to illuminate that so you can begin to experience it. And then it's not just a theory. So consciousness, your consciousness, our consciousness is the sky. The thoughts are clouds passing through the sky. So you just watch them. So, and there's a lot of other techniques. Focusing on your breath is a good one, because then you'll realize you can count your breaths, for instance, and you'll get up to 8 or 9, and then you'll think of something. Then you'll remember you stopped counting. There's another exercise. What does that show us? It shows us that the mind, that's what our thoughts are. That's what our mind is usually. And so the Course in Miracles is a course in mind discipline. It says training our mind so we can focus, right? So meditation is about focusing. So yes, more coherent. Coherent's a great word. Cohere. Yeah, our mind is God. Yes. Mary says our mind is God. So thanks for the comments, guys. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for acknowledging that, McKenna. And glad you're here. So we're also reversing our ideas about giving and receiving, right? That giving is not a loss, that giving is not a sacrifice, that we can give freely because within us is the infinite. So we can give. Okay, now don't get that twisted. That's what those guys, those preachers are doing on television, right? Give me your money. Course in Miracles isn't saying that. You could, if you understood what you're doing, you can support, for instance, this live with a subscription, monthly subscription. You could, but Course also says we're complete within ourselves. We don't need anything. So if you begin to understand the giving is just a symbol of support, those types of things, then if you understand that giving, because you can give your time, you can give your energy, you can give your thoughts and prayers, right? There's another level of giving. You can give simply by being present. You can give by listening to somebody, really listening to someone, to what they're saying. That's all giving. And by that giving also we receive, which is what really what the Course in Miracles is talking about. Then the external stuff, the money, the houses, the cars, the clothes, the shoes, the jewelry, that all comes after. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be added. Those are all effects of the kingdom of heaven, of a state of mind and consciousness. Accept God's peace and joy, and you will learn a different way of looking at a gift, a different perception, a different interpretation. That's the action of the Holy Spirit within us as a teaching function, an internal teaching function. God's gifts will never lessen when they are given away, they but increase thereby. As heaven's peace and joy intensify when you accept them as God's gift to you, so does the joy of your Creator grow when you accept his joy and peace as yours. So think also of giving a gift, and then I'm happy because you're happy with the gift. Even if I give you something, an object for your birthday, if you really like it, that increases my joy, right? So there are physical equivalents, but we're trying to understand that the physical equivalents are symbols of mental laws of consciousness. Today, accept God's peace and joy as yours. Let him complete himself as he defines completion. You will understand that what completes him must complete his Son as well. And we are all God's Son. We are God's children. So you will understand that what completes God must complete his family as well. All of us. Creation, everything. Receive his gift of joy and peace today, and he will thank you for your gift to him. That's an interesting sentence, right? Did you hear that? Receive God's gift of joy and peace, and he will thank you for your gift to him. So I received God's gift, which means I gave God a gift, which means giving and receiving are one, which means consciousness is one in this context. Now, specifically, God's peace and joy are mine. It asks for a specific exercise today. And the exercise is thinking of your enemies, right? Thinking of people who trigger you and then giving them in consciousness your peace and joy, forgiving them, extending love to them in your mind. And you will find, with enough practice and enough understanding, that that prayer, that extension of energy in the mind, actually our enemies, those people are within us. It's our own thoughts projected outside of us. Nonetheless, we're going to think of our enemies a little while and tell each one, as you think of him, my brother, peace and joy I offer you, that I may have God's peace and joy as mine. Okay, so we've talked about all of that. Now we're going to do an exercise in thought, in consciousness. I think of someone that's bugging me right now, bugging me out. You're bugging me out, man. Okay, except I'm not going to say it to them. I'm just going to think of them. And then I'm going to say to myself, my peace and joy I give to you, that I may have God's peace and joy for myself. We're training ourselves of our own free will, our own decision to train ourselves. God's peace and joy I give to you. You irritate me, but I give my peace and joy to you, which is an act of forgiveness in this context, that I may have God's peace and joy for myself. Because ultimately, that's me out there. It's not somebody separate, right? That's a misperception, misinterpretation of consciousness. So by engaging in that exercise, we prepare ourselves to recognize God's gifts to us and let our mind be free of all that would prevent success today. Now, are you ready to accept the gift of peace and joy that God has given you? Also, what the Course says is God's peace and joy has already been given to us. We just don't know it. We just don't recognize it. And again, you hear other people talking about this on TikTok, right? Assume the final outcome. Assume it, right? Neville Goddard. People who are talking about manifestation techniques. Assume the end state. Feel yourself already there. Now the Course is saying, yeah, God's already given it to you. You already are perfect, whole, and complete. This journey is already over. Just accept it. Accept that. Cars and the jewelry and the bags of money are on their way. Just accept that you are God in expression. Kenneth says, I've been thinking about checking a course in miracles, and lo and behold, here she is. See how that works? Yeah. Interesting, right? Cool. You must succeed today if you prepare your mind as we suggest. Okay, so you must succeed today. So the Course is also talking about mindset, right? You got to have a successful mindset. Think success, visualize success, right? Course, on a more fundamental, esoteric, hidden level, says you must succeed today. You already have succeeded. You already are a success in whatever you want to do, but you are already a success at being. Because you are created in the image and likeness of the Creator. And the Creator is mind. Creator is consciousness. So you can't be anything but a success. And so what is this? What's happening? Right? Why am I not an success? Why do I think I'm not? Well, that's the game. That's the fun of it. That's the challenge. To wake up and to know thyself. Again, Greek history, Greek mythology, Western civilization, from the Greeks through the Romans to Europe, right? And we dragged a few people from Africa over here, right? Then now, and then a bunch of people come here now, right? There's a 10-second review of, 4,000 years of history. Okay, but that is the external representation of internal transformations of consciousness. Did you catch that? History. Herstory, let's go with herstory. Herstory is the inner. Okay, we've abandoned it. We've put ourselves too far out into the masculine energy. We've lost our center. So let's go back with the feminine inner herstory. So the external picture of history is an out picturing, is a projection of inner herstory. And if we ignore her, you get what you get. Okay, whatever. A patriarchy, a bunch of wars, whatever. That's what you get. Okay. So today we're focusing on my brother, peace and joy I offer you, that I may have God's peace and joy as mine. That's the exercise. That's the practice. So try to remember that throughout the day. Try to remind yourself every hour. And then, which is also part of a meditation practice, I might add, or you cannot. Right? Can I remember to think of somebody every 60 minutes or so? So depending on what time it is, it might be 7 or 8 more times today, 9 or 10 more times today. Let me think of somebody who's an enemy. Doesn't matter if I know them face to face or if they're on the television or whatever, on the phone, whatever screen they're on, the screen of your consciousness, the screen of your phone. I'm going to think of someone once an hour. And I'm going to extend peace and joy to them. Why? Because I want peace and joy. Okay. As I give it to you, God gives it to me. God fills it up. There is, right? Nature abhors a vacuum. There's no emptiness. There is no space where God is not. Earlier, Mary said, omnipresent. God is everywhere. Even in this matter, right? All these atoms, whatever we say we're composed of, are atoms, photons. They're all units of light. Let there be light. Okay. Then the atoms and photons are physical light, but what about non-physical light? What about that light? What about the subtle light, it's called? Theosophists call that the subtle light, the subtle realms. It's a higher vibration. It's a higher vibration until we can't hear it anymore. Only the doggies can hear it, right? Okay, so that's the lesson for the day. Let's go to the text. This is called the two emotions. There's only two emotions, love or fear, the Course says. And then all the derivatives of each of them. So fear has a bunch of derivatives. Hate, dislike, war, division. Those are all functions of fear, derivatives from fear. And then love has derivatives, other words we use. Peace, happiness, joy, fulfillment. wholeness, holiness. That's all we're doing. No big deal. And time, Course in Miracles says, and space is a function of time and space. It takes time to travel. So time and space are the same thing. So the Course says time is an illusion. Yesterday, we talked about the collapse of time, which is what the Holy Spirit does. Time is used simply to be used for what we're using it for right now, to find out about ourselves, to discover the truth of our being. That's what time is for. Time is not to build a fleet of Denali's. I mean, you can, it's fine. But time is ultimately, bottom line, time is to remember who we are, to remember the truth of ourselves. So this is the voice of Jesus speaking here. Helen Schuckman, who downloaded this information, says she considers this the voice of Jesus, which is why you get the Christian framework here, which I talked about earlier. So if you weren't here earlier, go to YouTube, listen to this part of that discussion, when you got a minute. I've said you have but two emotions. So this is Jesus talking. Love and fear. You can also think of it as your higher self. You can also think of it as Buddha. You can also think of it as Krishna. Krishna has said you only have but two emotions, love and fear. Go check it out. You'll find out that's what was said. Buddha said the same thing as Jesus, said the same thing as Krishna, said the same thing as Zoroaster, said the same thing as Hermes. I have said you have but two emotions, love and fear. One is changeless, love, but continually exchanged, being offered by the eternal to the eternal. In this exchange, it is extended, for it increases as it is given, as we have said, as we went over the workbook lesson, right? So now this text, this portion of the text, basically begins to say the same thing. Consensus. Mary says, yes, she agrees. In this exchange, it is extended. So one of the two emotions is exchanged and it is extended, for it increases as it is given. The other has many forms, for the content of individual illusions differs greatly, right? We're all afraid of something different. Course says ultimately there are no differences because ultimately everything is love, not fear. Fear does not exist. Fear we made up. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Those are the final lines from the introduction to the Course in Miracles. So fear does not exist. God did not create fear. God created love. God is love. You are love. I am love. We are love. We are all in love. Oh, we're all in love. Oh, that's so exhausting. Wait till we get, stick around. Try to make it till the end of the year with this, because later when the Course in Miracles starts talking about special relationships and what the ego does with love and makes it a special relationship, makes it a special thing, not a universal thing, right? Stick around. It's coming. It's coming. Wait till you hear that. Wait till you hear that noise. Sounds like noise to the ego. Sounds like heavenly music to the higher self. Because once we understand how we have misidentified, Bible says, fear not, many times, yes. Thank you, Mary. Fear not, for I have overcome the world. Or, fear not, when an angel appears. Why do you think the angel says, fear not? Because the fear is arising. Then we have to give it to the angel, to the Holy Spirit. Yeah, the fear arises. Fear not. Oh, okay. And there's an illustration there of, again, also in the Bible, that split mind. Why does Jesus say, fear not? Because fear has arisen. You can't get rid of something that's not there. It has to be there, then we get rid of it. And the Course says, yeah, but don't make it real. Fear is not real. That's how you get rid of it. That's how you get rid of it. Course says very quickly, don't ignore the shadow. Don't ignore it. Pull it up. Pull back the covers. Pull back the curtain. Remove the veil. Look at it and then realize it's not real. Poof. Right? Turn it over to the Holy Spirit. Forgive it, which is the exercise for today. Think of an enemy. Why are they an enemy? Because I fear them. So, got to keep going through this. You have to be able to hold the paradox in your mind, hold the paradox in consciousness till you kind of rethink, rebuild that dilapidated old house that's called your thought system, your thought structure. You build that new paradigm while you're tearing down the old one. So that the Course, it's the whole thing. It shows both sides of it. And as soon as you find some darkness, as soon as you find something that's not quite right, forgive it, give it up, turn it over, tell it to hit the road. Don't dwell on it. Don't keep thinking about it. Don't worry about it. Right? I come from a family where worrying was an art form. Worrying is the highest pinnacle of what mom can do. She can worry. There's another aspect to the feminine that does not worry, that is very, very strong, that is true strength. It's an aspect of the feminine. It's called holding context. It's the soil. It's the earth. It's the soil that holds the seed as it breaks apart, right? The seed, that shell that's around the seed, has to crack. The whole thing has to fall apart. And what does the soil do? Soil just holds it. Soil doesn't freak out. The soil doesn't dig it up. The soil doesn't ask it what it's doing. Oh boy, I better slow down on this one. Soil just holds it, right? That shape I'm making with my hands. Soil just holds it. The seed, the masculine principle, the seed breaks apart. It's got to break apart. And then whoosh, off, see, it rises up, right? And then finally it breaks through the soil and we get an apple tree. And eventually we get apples. We get the fruit. You shall know them by their fruit. Then what happens? There's so much fruit. There's so much fruit that it can't be eaten, can't be consumed. And some of it falls back to the earth, falls back to the soil, and now revivifies the soil, right? That rotten apple, that's called compost. We call that compost today. That apple, those leaves, that nitrogen, that product of the exchange between carbon dioxide and oxygen, that whole process, then nitrogen goes back to the soil. Out of the soil, up, fruit, back to the soil. It's a circle. Again, it's a circle. It's not a straight line. If you keep going in a straight line, eventually it's like, it starts to curve back anyway, which is what I was talking about. Civilizations go like this and then they decline because they don't. You have to renew yourself. The civilization has to renew itself. There comes a point where the civilization plays itself out. Western civilization right now is playing itself out. It's the end game, right? It's wrapping itself up, baby. It's a wrap. We are done shooting this one, right? So it has to renew itself. It has to rise up. It has to transcend. Now, knowing that, understanding that, having that consciousness, allowing it to happen, now we can participate happily, joyfully, because we know what's happening. We understand, right? So the content of individual illusions differs greatly. We're talking about two emotions, love and fear. Fear creates illusions. Love or fear invents illusions. Love creates reality. So you want reality, which is what God created, which is perfect, whole, and complete, joyful, and loving, or do you want what we made up without God? Prodigal son. What did we make up? Fear. In this exchange, it is extended, for it increases as it is given, love. The other has many forms, for the content of individual illusions differs greatly, yet they have one thing in common. They are all insane. Can't do it alone. Can't be done alone. Unless alone means all one. If it means all one, then you have to accept everyone and everything. You have to allow it. They are made of sights that are not seen and sounds that are not heard. That is insane, right? That is schizophrenia. They make up a private world that cannot be shared. So, to what degree of schizophrenia do I have? Is the question, right? Is my consciousness, is my mind unified? Do I understand it's all one thing? Do I experience it all as one thing? Or do I experience attack and I have to defend myself? I'm afraid of the attack that's about to happen. Old age, poverty, ignorance, want, lack, right? Read your Charles Dickens. Fear, right? They make up a private world that cannot be shared, these thoughts, for they are meaningful only to their maker, and so they have no meaning at all, because they can't be shared, the Course says. In this world, their maker moves alone, for only he perceives them. So my individual fears are mine alone. Each one peoples his world with figures from his individual past. And here we're going to link fear to the past, because the past was fearful before I had developed, before I had grown up, before I had transcended, before I had awakened, to whatever degree. It keeps going, by the way. There is no final resting place. So, In the Bible, Jesus says the Son of Man or the Son of God has no place to rest his head. Keeps going, learn more, know more, be more. Just keeps going. That's why we should try not to wear ourselves out, weary ourselves in the text. Wrong type of thoughts, worrying thoughts are wearying thoughts. Thoughts of worry will make us tired. In fact, they will make us old, says the guy with the gray hairs. Not all of them. Worrying or fearful thoughts will cause us to age prematurely, let's say. Wait till we start living till we're 200 years old. Then what are they going to do with the Social Security system? Then what? Then what? What happens when we start living to 125? Let's not get crazy here. Entirely possible. Entirely within the realm of possibilities. Right? So think of living joyfully, living with exuberance till you're 125. Don't think of 125 as all feeble and beat up and falling apart. Think of it like you were in your 20s. The 120s are the new 20s. Right? So, the illusions are figures from the past. They were never real, for they are made up of reactions to his brothers, which do not include their reactions to him. So here it's saying, can I put myself in someone else's shoes, is the vernacular. Or am I just going to listen to my own thoughts, right? So you get plenty of that on social media in the comments section. There's plenty of bros that show up that all they want to do is tell you their point of view. So yeah, I'm sitting here talking for an hour, telling you my point of view, but I also want to hear your point of view. I want to know what you know, because everything I learned was because someone else said it to me. I read someone else's book. I listened to someone else's lecture. I went to someone else's workshop. That's where all the growth has come, right? I didn't grow by me just telling you what I think. That's not growth. That's stagnation. Yeah, that's a cool comment from Mary there, right? We wouldn't have imagination. We wouldn't have dreams, excuse me, if we couldn't manifest them. As the Course says, if they weren't already true. So our desire, so kind of reverse the interpretation of what the Buddha was saying, right? Because desire equals suffering according to Buddhist thought. So I want to give up my suffering, so I want to give up my desires. Might want to rethink that one. Desire from the Father. So the desires or the dreams come to us in our mind. Where are they coming from? And why are they coming? And why do we think we can manifest our dreams? John Updike, Mary says. Which part of John Updike? I know who's the author? There's a short story called In Dreams Begin Responsibilities. I remember reading that in college. But what about John Updike? Excellent author. Okay, the figures he sees were never real, for they were made up only of his reactions to his brothers and do not include their reactions to him. We were just talking about. Therefore, he does not see he made them and that they are not whole. For these figures in the dream, you got it, Mary, have no witnesses, being perceived in one separate mind only. Right? So we want the different perspectives. I'm going to say John Updike. I'm going to say, oh, okay. John Updike said nature would not incite us to dream without the possibility of them coming true. Okay. Awesome. Perfect. Exactly. Thumbs up. So the figures, course is saying we now retain fragmented partial images from our past without without witnesses or other perspectives. You know, my father was an alcoholic. Boy, when I was a teenager, woo, this is me and my father, okay? And he drank and all the blah, 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 blah. Right? So I had all these pictures in my head, images and idols, the Course in Miracles calls them. But I did not have my father's perspective. I began to discover my earthly father, my biological father. I began to discover more and more about him. So finally I said, no wonder he drinks. That's one layer. It goes even deeper. Because my father is a reflection. Ouch. Ooh, ouch. Ooh, that hurts. Right? So parents are signs, indicators of what needs to be worked on in this lifetime. Ooh, ooh, ouch. That hurts. Anyway, that's a sidebar. We won't get into that at the moment, except to say these figures have no witnesses, being perceived in a separate mind only. So the separate mind causes fear. Then we perceive from the fear. Then we don't get the whole picture. Politics, whatever, business, capitalism versus communism, left versus right, liberal versus conservative, Republican, Democrat, light, dark, back, forth, unify it, transcend it. There's something above it, around it, through it all. The only reason to see the darkness is so the light, right? So we understand the fullness of the light, because the light always overcomes the darkness, right? You light a candle and darkness flees is the metaphor, symbol, right? So love, so what flees in the presence of love is fear. It's through these strange and shadowy figures that the insane relate to their insane world. For they see only those who remind them of these images, and it is to them that they relate. Projection. Right? Course is saying here, you don't even see who's in front of you. You see some image from your past. All the guys, everyone I've ever worked for, especially if they were a man, right? I projected my father onto them, which is why I would get into conflicts with them, which is why I would quit my job or be fired. And so it's being said right here, I can verify it from my own experience. Because then I eventually realized it one day. Oh, I'm not even fighting with these guys. I'm fighting with my father. And my father's not even here, my biological father. I'm projecting on these guys who are my bosses, who I disagree with. Thus, do they communicate with those who are not there, right? So I was arguing, communicating, fighting with my father. He wasn't there. And it is they who answer them. And then, yes, that person who is not my father will start responding to me as my father, like my father, right? So, which is why we say, wherever you go, there you are. Can't run away from it. Can't run away from your shadow. Got to deal with it. So Jung says you got to deal with your shadow, or things are really going to get messed up. So Jung says you came to me because things are messed up. You're looking for relief. You're looking for a solution. You're looking for an answer. You came to me. Unless you look at the shadow, then Jung called it, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to continue. And no one hears their answer save him who called upon them, and he alone believes they answered him. Projection makes perception, and you cannot see beyond it. That is the imprisonment. That is the restriction, right? That's a huge line in the course, by the way, which is filled with huge lines, but projection makes perception is one of the lines you'll hear many people reference who are talking about the Course in Miracles. Projection makes perception, and you cannot see beyond it. You have blinders on because you're projecting. And I just described myself how I did that at the restaurants I worked at. Again and again, you have attacked your brother because you saw him in a shadow figure in your private world. And thus it is, you must attack yourself first, for what you attack is not in others. What we attack is within ourselves. Its only reality is in your own mind. And by attacking others, you are literally attacking what is not there. So if you think Donald Trump is attacking you, number one, Donald Trump is attacking himself, as are you. You're both projecting. When Donald Trump talks about the people he's exporting back to their countries, he's straight up talking about self-rejection. Parts of himself he's rejected. But people that criticize him don't realize the same thing is true for them. Now, it might have a different subject matter, might have a different form. Nonetheless, I'm projecting onto Donald Trump, even if I think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? I'm projecting, okay? It's within me, both what I like and what I dislike. That's the truth. That's where we need to go. That's what we need to realize, awaken to, and that is called enlightenment. That is called self-realization. Realizing how this, what the self is and how it works. It's deep, baby. That is awesome. That's all we want. That's all you want. So they separate into their private worlds where everything is disordered and where what is within appears to be without. This is awesome. Go read it yourself. Go review it. The two emotions. Chapter 13, section 5. The two emotions. This is heavy duty. This is deep. I don't even realize how deep it is. It's so deep. Ooh. You have but two emotions, yet in your private world, you react to each of them as though it were the other. Now they get confused. So it goes on to say we think attack, we think fear and attack is love. We get it confused. You've got it all backwards. You need to untangle that mess. So it goes on to say that. Then it says, as you look with open eyes upon the world, it must occur to you that you have withdrawn into insanity. So we've withdrawn so much into ourselves. We're so self-centered. Little s, self. Selfish, not self-centered, realizing that everything is the one self. Not that self. That's the capital S. That's different. It must occur to you you've withdrawn into insanity. Insanity. Okay, so impartial self-observation, impartial witnessing of the world. Yeah, it's messed up, right? Let's be honest. It's messed up no matter what side you find yourself on. It's messed up. It just is. So if we can admit that, then we can correct the problem, the Course says. First, let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. Hear the same thing in 12-step, right? Oh, I didn't even know I had a problem. I didn't even think I had a problem. I drink, I get drunk, I fall down. No problem. Right? Not until you can see it, not until you can turn the other cheek, turn around on yourself, right? Get thee behind me, Satan. Turn around on yourself, catch yourself, acting insane, acting a fool, right? Then the Course also says, just deal with yourself. That's the exercise. Don't worry. There's nothing out there. Deal with yourself. Don't try to point out, right? And the Bible says it too. Don't try to pluck that splinter from your brother's eye and ignore the beam in your own. Don't try to pick that splinter. Don't try to correct your brother. Don't try to correct people out here. Don't try to pull that splinter from your brother's eye because you got a 2x4 sticking out of yours. Hello? Hello? Is anybody out there? You see what is not there. You hear what makes no sound. Your manifestations of emotions are the opposite of what your emotions are. So it's all confused, right? It's all messed up. Then it says, would you give this to your father? Vision depends on light. You cannot see in darkness. Do not seek vision through your eyes, for you made your way of seeing that you might see in darkness. And in this, you are deceived. These eyes came about so we could see what we made separate from God. Now, we couldn't really do it completely, right? It could be a lot worse. You can't completely remove yourself from God. You can kind of turn away, shy away, right? Not think about him, not devote yourself to him, her, it, that. So it's not complete darkness. It is darkness nonetheless. And it is a slippery slope. So I'm going to read the last paragraph here, go over the last paragraph, and that's it for today. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging around, you guys. Several people have been here for the entire live. Thanks so much. That's an hour and a half. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so let's wrap it up every day, 11 a.m. Central Time. And if TikTok doesn't stop me at 60 minutes, which they did not today, look at that. You got 90 minutes. We got 90 minutes together. Thanks for being here. We love your presence. We love that you're here. We love you. Peace and blessings. And let me wrap it up here. The Holy Spirit is the light in which Christ stands revealed. The Holy Spirit reveals the Son of God, or Son of God was born of a virgin. Same thing. And all who would behold him can see her, or all that would behold her can see him, for they have asked for light. Nor will they see him alone, let's say the Christ, for he is no more alone than they are. Because they saw the Son, they have risen in him to the Father. And all this they will understand, because they looked within and saw beyond the darkness the Christ in them and recognized him. In the sanity of Christ's vision, they looked upon themselves with love and seen themselves as the Holy Spirit sees them. So it's one thing. The masculine and the feminine principles of God are one. They are unified. That's right. It's the alchemical marriage. And with this vision of truth in them, then came all the beauty of the world to shine upon them. So that's all we're looking for, is a little more light. There's two emotions. One of them we want to stay away from. One of them we want to embrace and be embraced by. So it's that simple. We've mucked it up. We've made it confusing. So again, thanks for being here. You can find this on my YouTube channel later in the day. Much later, since we went for an hour and a half. It takes a minute to process and download and all that good stuff and upload again. So thanks for being here. And I review the Course in Miracles, the workbook lesson of the day, and a portion of the text every day at 11 a.m. Central Time. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great day. Thanks for being here. Peace and blessings.